Hi, everyone. There has been a ton of activity on the Bitcoin front in Washington, D.C. these last 72 hours, ever since Tuesday. I wanted to recap a little of it for you, just in case you like hearing my voice do that. You can get better recaps in a couple of the links I posted last night, one from Twitter and a couple others. Natalie Brunel, her podcast, she does a really good job in an 11-minute episode of recapping everything, but I'll do my best to recap here. So, a lot of big things happening on the most positive front. Let me take some things off. So, SAB 121 was repealed, which now allows banks to custody Bitcoin on behalf of their customers. Gary Gensler, the previous head of the SEC, had banned banks from holding Bitcoin. It was a little more technical than that, but the effect was it made it virtually impossible for banks to hold Bitcoin on behalf of their customers. So that was repealed in the last 72 hours. So now it's wide open for banks to offer Bitcoin custody services and Bitcoin services for their customers, which obviously a lot of people trust their banks. Whether they should or not, they do. A lot of people trust their banks, and the more places they can get Bitcoin services, the better. I mean, why not have the largest, most reputable banks in America offer Bitcoin custody for their customers? I mean, it's still better for self custody, but if you're not going to do that, might as well have your bank hold it as opposed to someone else. Um, that happened. Also, in a Donald Trump signed an executive order banning a central bank digital currency. So that is the hugely positive thing. It was an executive order that covered a lot of things, but that was a component of it, which is fantastic. The right to self custody was mentioned in the executive order, meaning you have the right to do things like BitKey, where you hold the Bitcoin yourself, and you are your own bank. So that got a good solid mention in everything. Also, a working group was established to study a digital assets stockpile. This is not necessarily a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It does not guarantee the U.S. government will buy additional Bitcoin, but it's clearly we're on the path to the U.S. government not selling the Bitcoin it has, which is, I consider a positive development. And there's a bunch of other smaller things that were positive related to all of that. So the only thing that Bitcoin Twitter or Bitcoin X, crypto Twitter slash Bitcoin X, whatever you want to call it, the only thing people are grumbling on there is that a strategic Bitcoin reserve was not actually created yesterday. Well, this is, of all the things that were in the works, this is the one that I'm most conflicted about. And so I don't feel strongly. So the things I do feel strongly about mostly got done yesterday or the day before. Another item, Ross Ulbricht, who was an early Bitcoiner who got in trouble with the law in various ways, was freed from prison. Donald Trump pardoned him. He's been in prison for 11 or 12 years now. He was running a Bitcoin marketplace where you could buy and sell anything, literally anything, as long as it did not hurt anyone and did not violate their rights, which obviously that ended up with some products and services on there that are illegal, even though they did not violate anyone's rights. And anyway, the guy ended up in prison, 12 years ago, and now he's out. So lots of positive things. The one sort of, I guess, I want to walk through sort of my thinking on the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So this is an issue I've been torn on for a while now, because on one hand, you want everybody adopting Bitcoin. That means companies, that means sovereign wealth funds, it means family offices, it means nation states, it means, you want everybody adopting Bitcoin. On the other hand, governments are a centralized, coercive monopoly power that almost inevitably does bad with whatever resources they have rather than good. So, do you want a centralized monopoly, coercive monopoly power owning the best money in the world? Well, on one hand, you want them owning it because the more people that have stake in the game, the better. On the other hand, why would you want a centralized, coercive monopoly power to have any assets? It's just generally you don't, in my opinion. You want the free market and private individuals to own the resources, the money, the power. All of that should be done in a voluntary society of free thinking and free acting people, not, the government buys a bunch of Bitcoin with money they borrow from people or steal from people or, you know, cause inflation by printing out of thin air, et cetera. So um, I feel good about what has been accomplished so far in Washington, D.C., because the things I really care about are on track. And one of the big litmus tests I use is, would I spend time, money, and energy accomplishing or protecting or defending or advancing any specific thing. And so a lot of what has been accomplished are things that I would spend time, money, and energy, either protecting, defending, or advancing. And that is the repeal of SAB 121. That's a big deal. Uh, Protection of self custody. That's my probably the number one most important thing in Bitcoin. I think in Washington D.C. is the protection of self custody, the right to own, control your Bitcoin yourself without being dependent on a bank or a financial institution or anything like that. So that's a big deal. Obviously Ross Ulbricht needed to be out of prison. That's saves the rest of a man's life, etc. So basically, all of the things I care about are on track. And the only thing that people are grumbling about, which is the strategic Bitcoin reserve as compared to a digital asset stockpile, is the one thing that I'm conflicted enough about that I would not have spent my own time, energy, or money um, to advance, because I think the potential unintended consequences and downsides of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I think the upsides outweigh the downsides, but again, I'm just not a huge fan of a centralized coercive monopoly power of any kind, even though, the United States may be the best centralized coercive monopoly power in the world. Even so, like, why would I want any, centralized coercive monopoly power to own a bunch of the world's most valuable money? And so, anyway, so the one thing that is not 100% making everyone happy right now is the one thing I was the most conflicted about anyway. So, who cares? The bottom line is, I think everything is exactly right where it needs to be in Bitcoin land, and that even the price, when I started this video was about 105,000. Um, or it was like 30 minutes ago. I didn't check in the last 30 minutes, but at 105,000, Bitcoin strikes me as extremely cheap right now. The reason for that is clearly a Senate followed through, and all of the stuff so basically Donald Trump has kept 100% of his word so far. Um, Again, he never committed that he was going to use an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Uh, he committed that we would have a digital asset stockpile or a Bitcoin stockpile. So that's still on track. It's just not established with an executive order. And there's a lot of questions about whether it even could have been established with an executive order legally anyway, as opposed to an act of Congress. But anyway, all that to say, so far, Donald Trump is keeping all of his promises regarding Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and digital assets more broadly. And, there was obviously a chance that that was not going to be the case. So I think, the fact that Bitcoin's price is not up very much, even in spite of all of the massive positive news, tells me that it's, Bitcoin's on sale, or it strikes me as Bitcoin's on sale. Obviously, nobody knows, but I just think Bitcoin's on sale. So that's the update. There's a much more comprehensive summary of all the things that have happened in the last 72 hours that I posted. So I posted a couple articles. I posted the Natalie Brunell 11-minute recap. I posted a Twitter/X sort of summary post that's like a series of, I don't know, 10 or 12 different Twitter posts that summarizes all of the activity. So anyway, read through that if you want a much more detailed description of what is actually going on. But if you want, my verbal opinion of it, you got it here. So anyway, I'll hopefully do more videos today, tomorrow, or over the weekend. And if anybody needs anything, I am always here to help on your Bitcoin journey in anything I could possibly do. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Bye.